Tonight, there is nowhere you need to go. Nothing you need to accomplish. Nothing you need to prove. The day is finished now. The work can wait. The conversations can wait. The unanswered questions can wait. For the next few moments, allow yourself to simply be here, right where you are, exactly as you are. Take a slow, comfortable breath, and then another. Notice the quiet around you. Notice the stillness beginning to settle. The world spends much of its time moving, rushing, planning, building, chasing. From morning until night, there is always something asking for attention, something demanding energy, something pulling the mind in another direction. And after a while, the soul becomes tired. Not necessarily because life is bad, but because life is busy. Very busy. Perhaps you know that feeling. The feeling of carrying many thoughts at once. Trying to remember everything. Trying not to forget anything. Trying to prepare for what comes next. The mind keeps moving, even when the body is ready for rest. That is why these words from the Psalms feel so comforting. Simple words, gentle words, words that have calmed hearts for generations. Be still, not strive harder, not worry more, not figure everything out tonight. Simply, be still. There is wisdom in those words, because stillness is not something many people experience anymore. Silence feels unfamiliar. Rest feels unfamiliar. Waiting feels unfamiliar. Yet God often speaks most clearly in quiet places. Not through pressure. Not through panic. Not through noise. But through stillness. Imagine sitting beside an old wooden porch on a peaceful evening. The sun has already disappeared beyond the horizon. The air is calm. The world feels slower somehow. A gentle breeze moves through the trees. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing exciting happens. And yet, there is peace. A deep kind of peace. The kind that cannot be purchased. The kind that cannot be rushed. The kind that arrives when a person finally stops running. Many people spend their lives searching for peace in bigger houses, better jobs, more money, more success, more certainty. But the Psalms often point somewhere else, toward God's presence, toward stillness, toward trust. Because real peace is not found in controlling everything. Real peace is found in knowing that God is in control. And tonight, you do not need to control everything. You do not need to manage tomorrow. You do not need to solve next week's problems. You do not need to carry the entire future on your shoulders. God is already there, already working, already aware, already faithful. Imagine standing beside a quiet field at twilight. The day's work is done. The land is resting. The sky is growing darker. No one is rushing. No one is striving. Everything seems content to simply be. There is a lesson hidden within moments like that. Creation does not fight against its need for rest. The trees rest. The fields rest. The birds rest. And perhaps tonight, your heart can rest too. You do not have to earn rest. You do not have to deserve peace. You do not have to complete one more task before God welcomes you into His presence. You are already welcome, exactly as you are, with your strengths, with your weaknesses, with your faith, with your questions. God is not waiting for a perfect version of you. He is simply inviting you to be still, to sit quietly in His presence, to let your weary soul breathe again. Perhaps there are concerns still lingering in your mind tonight. Concerns about people you love. Concerns about the future. Concerns about situations you cannot control. If so, there is no need to wrestle with them right now. Imagine placing each concern into God's hands, not because they do not matter, but because they matter too much to carry alone. One concern at a time, one burden at a time, one thought at a time. And as you release them, notice how much lighter the heart becomes. The night is quiet. God is near. And for this moment, that is enough. More than enough. So breathe slowly. Allow your shoulders to relax. Allow your thoughts to settle. There is nothing left to accomplish tonight. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to carry alone. Only this gentle invitation. Be still. And know that God is God. Be still. And rest. Be still. And allow His peace to surround you. The night is calm. God is near. And your soul is safe in His presence. There is something difficult about waiting. Most people do not enjoy it. They would rather know, rather understand, rather have the answer now. Waiting can feel uncomfortable, especially when the heart cares deeply about something. A prayer, a loved one, a decision, a dream, a situation that seems unfinished. The mind naturally wants to move ahead, to solve, to predict, to prepare. Yet the Psalms introduce us to a different way, a quieter way, a slower way, a more peaceful way, a soul waiting quietly before God. Not because everything has been figured out, not because every answer has arrived, but because trust has begun to grow. Imagine sitting beside a window on a rainy evening. The rain falls gently against the glass. The room is warm. A small lamp glows softly nearby. There is nowhere you need to be. Nothing demanding your attention. You simply sit, listening to the rain, watching the quiet beauty of the moment. Waiting does not always have to feel stressful. Sometimes waiting can become peaceful when we stop treating it like a problem to solve and begin treating it like a place where God can meet us. Many of the most meaningful moments in life happen during seasons of waiting. Not after them, during them. Patience grows there. Wisdom grows there. Faith grows there. Even though we rarely notice it while it is happening. The psalmist understood this. That is why he spoke of his soul waiting quietly for God. Not anxiously, not fearfully, not desperately, quietly. There is something beautiful about that word. Quietly. Like leaves resting after the wind has passed. Like a lake untouched by waves. Like a house after everyone has gone to sleep. Quietly. Perhaps your soul needs a little of that tonight. Not more information. Not more plans. Not more effort. Just quiet. Just enough silence for your heart to remember that God is still present, still working, still guiding, still faithful. Even when nothing seems to be changing, imagine a seed resting beneath the soil. From the surface, nothing appears different. Nothing appears to be happening. Yet beneath the ground, life is already beginning. Growth is already taking place. Something beautiful is already unfolding. The seed does not rush the process. It does not force itself upward. It simply remains where it has been planted, trusting the season, trusting the process, trusting the one who designed it. Sometimes our lives are like that. There are seasons when visible progress seems slow. Seasons when prayers appear unanswered. Seasons when we wonder whether anything is happening at all. Yet God is often doing his deepest work in hidden places. Places the eyes cannot see. Places the mind cannot fully understand. Tonight, you do not need to understand everything. You do not need to know how every chapter will unfold. You do not need to see the entire road ahead. You only need enough trust for this moment. Enough trust to rest. Enough trust to breathe. Enough trust to sleep. The future can remain where it belongs. In God's hands. Strong hands. Wise hands. Faithful hands. Hands that have guided countless people through countless seasons. Hands that have never failed. Imagine sitting beneath a covered porch while rain continues to fall softly outside. The sound is gentle, steady, comforting. You are protected from the storm, not because you control the weather, but because you have found a place of peace. Waiting quietly for God is like that. It does not mean every storm disappears. It means the heart discovers a place of rest in the middle of uncertainty. A place where trust becomes stronger than fear. A place where peace becomes stronger than worry. A place where the soul can finally be still. Perhaps tonight, God is inviting you into that place. Not a place of answers, but a place of trust. Not a place of certainty, but a place of peace. Not a place where every question disappears, but a place where every question can rest for a while. The rain continues falling softly. The night continues quietly. And God continues faithfully. Nothing about his character has changed. Nothing about his goodness has changed. Nothing about his love has changed. He is still with you. Still caring for you. Still watching over your life. Still working in ways you may not yet see. And because of that, your soul can wait quietly. Your heart can become calm. Your thoughts can become gentle. Your breathing can become slow and peaceful. The night is not asking anything more from you. You have done enough. You have carried enough. You have thought enough. Now it is time to rest. Time to trust. Time to wait quietly before God. For his presence is here. His peace is here. And his faithfulness remains. Through this night, through tomorrow, and through every season yet to come. Psalm 63 inspired. There are many things people spend their lives searching for. Success, security, recognition, comfort, understanding. The list seems endless. And yet, even after finding some of those things, many people still feel as though something is missing. a deeper peace, a deeper joy, a deeper sense of rest. The writer of Psalm 63 understood something important, something that many people spend years discovering, that the human heart was created for more than achievements, more than possessions, more than temporary happiness. The heart was created for God's presence, and when the soul draws near to Him, something begins to settle. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, not because every challenge disappears, but because the heart has found what it was truly longing for. Imagine taking a long walk on a warm afternoon. The road stretches farther than expected. The sun feels stronger than expected. And after hours of walking, you become thirsty, very thirsty. At first you think about it only occasionally, but as time passes, the desire for water becomes stronger, until finally, you find a cool spring, clear water, fresh water, exactly what you needed. The moment you drink, your whole body responds. Relief, refreshment, contentment. That is the kind of picture Psalm 63 paints. A soul discovering refreshment in God's presence. Not a shallow comfort. Not a temporary distraction. Something deeper. Something lasting. Many people try to quiet their hearts by filling every moment. More entertainment. More activity. More noise. But often, the soul is not asking for more noise. It is asking for peace. And peace is often found in the quiet places. The simple places. The places where God's presence can be felt most clearly. Imagine sitting alone in a peaceful garden just before sunset. The air is warm. The flowers move gently in the breeze. Everything feels calm. No one is rushing. Nothing feels urgent. For a few moments, everything feels enough. There is a contentment in that moment. A feeling that says, I do not need anything else right now. That is the kind of rest Psalm 63 describes. A soul finding satisfaction in God. Not satisfaction because life is perfect, but satisfaction because God is present. There is an important difference. Many people tell themselves, I will have peace when this problem is solved. I will rest when this situation changes. I will be content when everything finally works out. Yet life always seems to offer another challenge, another question, another uncertainty. If peace depends on perfect circumstances, peace always stays just out of reach. But the Psalms offer another path, a peace rooted in God's presence, a contentment rooted in God's goodness, a rest that does not disappear every time life becomes difficult. Imagine sitting beside a quiet fireplace on a cold evening. The room is warm. The fire crackles softly. The outside world feels distant. You are not thinking about tomorrow. Not worrying about next week. Not carrying every burden. You are simply present. Simply resting. Simply enjoying the peace of the moment. God invites weary hearts into that kind of rest. A rest deeper than physical sleep. A rest that reaches the soul itself. Perhaps tonight, your soul is more tired than you realize. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The constant movement of life can do that. The endless decisions, the endless responsibilities, the endless concerns. After a while, the heart becomes weary. That is why God's presence is such a gift. Not because he adds another responsibility, but because he invites us to lay responsibilities down for a while. To stop striving, to stop carrying, to stop worrying, and simply rest. Imagine sitting beneath a large tree on a warm afternoon. The shade is cool. The breeze is gentle. The world seems peaceful. You are not trying to make the tree provide shade. It already does. You are simply enjoying what has already been given. God's presence is like that. His love is already here. His peace is already available. His faithfulness is already surrounding you. You do not need to earn it. You do not need to achieve it. You do not need to prove yourself worthy of it. You only need to receive it. And tonight, you can. As the night grows deeper, allow your heart to rest in that truth. You are cared for. You are welcomed. You are loved. Not because of what you accomplished today. Not because of what you will accomplish tomorrow. But simply because you belong to God. The night is peaceful. His presence is near. And your soul can rest there. Deeply. Quietly. Completely. For God's presence is enough. And within his presence, the heart finds the contentment it has been searching for all along. Some of God's greatest gifts arrive so quietly that they are easy to overlook. Not because they are small, but because they are constant. The warmth of sunlight on a cool morning, the sound of rain nourishing dry ground, a gentle breeze moving through the trees. Simple things, ordinary things, things that happen every day. Yet each one is a reminder of God's goodness. Psalm 65 speaks about this kind of goodness. Not through dramatic miracles, not through extraordinary events, but through the quiet ways God cares for his creation. The fields, the rivers, the hills, the seasons, the steady rhythms of life that continue year after year. Imagine walking along a country path just after a gentle rain. The earth smells fresh. The grass shines with tiny drops of water. The air feels clean and peaceful. Everything seems renewed. Everything seems cared for. Not because the land cared for itself, but because God faithfully provided what it needed. There is comfort in that thought, because the same God who cares for fields and forests cares for you. The same God who sends rain upon the earth knows exactly what your heart needs. The same God who watches over the seasons is watching over your life. Sometimes people expect God's goodness to appear only in big moments, major breakthroughs, life-changing opportunities, dramatic answers to prayer. And certainly, God can work in those ways, but often his goodness appears much more quietly, in daily provision, in unexpected encouragement, in strength for another day, in the simple gift of making it through a difficult season. Imagine a farmer standing at the edge of a field in late summer. The crops have grown. The harvest is approaching. The land is filled with life. The farmer understands something important. The harvest did not appear overnight. It grew gradually, day by day, week by week, quietly, almost unnoticed. Yet all along, God was providing what was needed. Sunlight, rain, time, growth. Life often works the same way. There are seasons when we cannot see much progress. Seasons when nothing seems to be changing. Seasons when we wonder whether anything good is happening at all. Yet beneath the surface, God continues working, providing what is needed, creating growth, preparing blessings we cannot yet see. His goodness often moves quietly, like rain falling during the night. The ground does not notice every drop, yet by morning, everything is different. Perhaps there have been blessings in your life that arrived that way. Small at first, almost unnoticed. A friendship, a lesson learned, a moment of strength, a door opening unexpectedly. Looking back, you can see God's hand, not because it was obvious at the time, but because His goodness was there all along. Tonight, as you rest, perhaps it is worth remembering those moments. Not every blessing needs to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes the greatest blessings are the quiet ones, the ones that arrive gently, the ones that sustain us day after day. Imagine standing in a meadow as evening settles over the land, the sky painted with soft colors, the field stretching peacefully into the distance, the wind moving gently through tall grass. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels forced. Everything seems to move according to a rhythm established long ago. The seasons know when to change. The rains know when to come. The earth knows when to rest. And somehow, God holds it all together. That same wisdom is at work in your life. Even when you cannot see it. Even when you do not understand it. Even when the path ahead seems unclear. God's goodness is still present. Still guiding. Still providing. Still caring. Perhaps tonight, you can release the pressure of needing to understand everything. The farmer does not stand over every seed demanding immediate growth. The gardener does not pull on flowers to make them bloom faster. Some things require patience. Some things require trust. Some things require time. And God's goodness often unfolds through all three. As the night grows deeper, allow your heart to rest in that truth. You do not need to force tomorrow to arrive. You do not need to make every answer appear tonight. You do not need to carry the weight of the entire journey. God is already providing what is needed. Perhaps not all at once, but day by day, moment by moment, season by season. The fields rest beneath the night sky. The earth receives what it needs, and creation quietly trusts its creator. Tonight, your heart can do the same. You can rest. You can trust. You can sleep peacefully. For the God whose goodness fills the earth is filling this moment with His care as well. And that gentle goodness will remain with you through this night and into the morning that awaits. There are certain places that make us feel at peace the moment we arrive. A favorite chair beside a window. A quiet room at the end of a long day. A familiar place filled with warm memories. The moment we enter, something inside us relaxes. The tension begins to fade. The heart becomes lighter. Psalm 84 speaks about a longing for God's presence in a similar way. Not a longing driven by fear, not a longing driven by obligation, but a longing born from love, a longing to be near the one who brings peace to the soul. Imagine arriving home after a long journey. The road has been tiring, the days have been full, the responsibilities have been many, and then at last, you arrive. You step inside. Everything feels familiar. Everything feels safe. Everything feels peaceful. There's a deep relief in coming home. A feeling that says, I can finally rest. The psalmist often described God's presence that way. Like coming home. Like finding a place where the soul no longer needs to wander. A place where striving can stop. A place where peace can begin. Many people spend much of their lives searching for happiness, searching for security, searching for meaning, and sometimes they look in many different places. Yet the deepest rest has never been found in possessions, never been found in achievements, never been found in endless success. The deepest rest is found in God's presence, because the heart was created for Him. Imagine a traveler walking through a beautiful countryside, rolling hills in the distance, gentle breezes moving through the grass, birds singing softly in the trees. The traveler pauses for a moment, not because the journey is finished, but because the beauty of the moment deserves attention. Life contains moments like that. Moments that remind us there's more to life than rushing from one task to another. Moments that remind us to slow down, to breathe, to notice, to be present. God's presence often feels like one of those moments. A gentle invitation to stop rushing. A gentle invitation to stop striving. A gentle invitation to simply rest. There is beauty in being near God because His presence changes the atmosphere of the heart. Fear begins to lose its grip. Anxiety begins to loosen. Restlessness begins to settle. Not because every circumstance changes immediately, but because the heart remembers where true peace comes from. Imagine sitting beneath the shade of a large tree on a warm afternoon. The air is still. The sunlight filters gently through the leaves. Everything feels calm. You are not trying to create the shade. It is already there. You are simply enjoying it, resting within it. God's presence is like that. You do not need to manufacture His love. You do not need to earn His attention. You do not need to convince Him to care for you. His love is already there. His peace is already there. His presence is already there, waiting for you to rest within it. Sometimes people imagine that being close to God requires extraordinary effort. But often, it begins with something much simpler. Stillness. A quiet moment. A willing heart. A soul that slows down enough to listen. Tonight, you have already entered that quiet place. The noise of the day is fading. The responsibilities are resting. The night is growing deeper, and God's presence remains. Steady, gentle, faithful, Perhaps there are moments in your life when you have felt especially aware of God's goodness. A moment of unexpected peace. A moment of gratitude. A moment when everything seemed to slow down and you simply knew He was near. Those moments are precious. Not because they happen every day, but because they remind us of a truth that is always present. God is near, even when life is busy, even when questions remain, even when the road ahead feels uncertain. His presence remains, and there's beauty in that. A beauty deeper than scenery. A beauty deeper than comfort. A beauty deeper than words. The beauty of knowing that the Creator of all things welcomes you into His presence. Not reluctantly, not occasionally, but lovingly. Again and again, day after day, night after night. As this peaceful evening continues, allow yourself to settle more deeply into that awareness. You do not need to travel anywhere. You do not need to accomplish anything. You do not need to become someone else. God is here, and His presence is enough. Enough for your questions. Enough for your weariness. Enough for your hopes. Enough for your heart. The night remains calm. The world remains quiet. And God's presence remains near. So rest there. Rest in His goodness. Rest in His peace. Rest in the beauty of being near Him. For the soul was created for moments like this. Moments of stillness. Moments of trust. Moments of quiet closeness with God. And tonight, you are safely resting in His presence. As the night grows deeper, there is something peaceful about remembering. Not remembering mistakes. Not replaying worries. Not revisiting every difficult moment, but remembering goodness. Remembering kindness. Remembering the ways God has been faithful. Psalm 103 is filled with that spirit. It is the voice of someone who pauses long enough to look back and notice how much grace has been present all along. Sometimes life moves so quickly that blessings pass unnoticed. We focus on what remains unfinished. We focus on what is missing. We focus on what still needs attention. And in doing so, we forget how much has already been given. Imagine opening an old journal. Its pages filled with memories from years gone by. Moments you had almost forgotten. Days that seemed ordinary at the time. Yet looking back now, you see them differently. You see kindness where you once saw coincidence. You see guidance where you once saw confusion. You see provision where you once saw uncertainty. And perhaps most of all, you see God's faithfulness. Not always in dramatic ways. Not always in obvious ways. But in steady ways. Quiet ways. Faithful ways. Psalm 103 reminds us that God is compassionate, patient, merciful, kind. These are beautiful words, but they become even more beautiful when we remember that they are true. True on our best days. True on our difficult days. True true even in seasons when we struggle to see it. Imagine a gentle grandfather sitting on a porch at sunset. He watches the evening sky. The years have taught him patience. The years have taught him perspective. He no longer rushes through every moment. He notices things. The sound of birds returning home. The changing colors of the sky. The beauty hidden within ordinary evenings. There is wisdom in slowing down enough to notice. And tonight, perhaps your heart can do the same. Noticing the kindness of God. The breath in your lungs. The strength that carried you through difficult days. The people who have shown you love. The moments of unexpected peace. Even the simple fact that you have made it this far. There were challenges you thought you would never overcome. There were seasons you thought would never end. There were nights that felt impossibly long. Yet here you are, still moving forward, still growing, still held by God's grace. That alone is worth remembering. Psalm 103 also speaks of God's compassion, a word that carries warmth within it. Compassion is more than kindness. It is kindness that understands. Kindness that sees weakness without rejecting it. Kindness that sees struggles without turning away. God understands your humanity. He understands weariness. He understands limitations. He understands the burdens people carry. And his response is not harshness. His response is compassion. Imagine a parent gently covering a sleeping child with a blanket during the night. The child is unaware. The child does not ask. The child does not earn the gesture. It is simply an act of love. That image captures something beautiful about God's care. There are ways he protects us that we never see. Ways he guides us that we never fully understand. Ways he provides for us that we may only recognize years later. His kindness often works quietly, like sunlight arriving before we open our eyes, like rain nourishing the earth during the night, like a gentle hand guiding us away from dangers we never knew existed. The more we remember his kindness, the more peaceful the heart becomes, because gratitude changes the atmosphere within us. It softens anxiety. It quiets restlessness. It helps us see life through a different lens. Not a lens of fear, but a lens of trust. A lens that says, if God has been faithful before, he will remain faithful again. That truth has comforted countless people through countless generations. Not because life is predictable, but because God's character is. His goodness remains. His compassion remains. His kindness remains. Year after year, season after season, night after night. As you rest here tonight, allow yourself to remember not every detail, not every chapter, just enough to notice God's goodness, enough to notice his faithfulness, enough to notice his kindness. Perhaps a memory comes to mind, perhaps a blessing, perhaps a moment when grace arrived exactly when it was needed. Hold that memory gently. Let it warm your heart for a moment. Then allow it to settle peacefully into the quiet of the night. For the same God who was faithful then is faithful now. The same God who carried you before is carrying you tonight. And the same God who has shown you kindness throughout your life will continue to do so in the days ahead. The night is calm. Your heart is safe. And God's compassion surrounds you. So rest now. Rest with gratitude. Rest with peace. Rest with the quiet confidence that you are deeply loved. For God's kindness has not ended. His mercy has not faded. And His faithful care remains with you even now. There's a certain kind of peace that children often experience naturally. Not because they understand everything. Not because they have all the answers. Not because every question has been solved. But because they trust. Psalm 131 paints one of the most gentle and comforting pictures in all of Scripture. It speaks of a heart that has become quiet, a soul that has become settled, a spirit that is finally at rest, not restless, not striving, not reaching endlessly for control, simply calm, simply content, simply at peace. Imagine the end of a long day. The house has grown quiet. The lights are dim. The noise has faded. A small child has finally fallen asleep. The worries of the day are gone. The questions are gone. The need to understand everything is gone. There is only rest, only peace, only trust. Psalm 131 invites us into that same kind of stillness. Not childishness, but childlike trust. The kind of trust that says, I do not need to carry everything myself. The kind of trust that says, I do not need to understand everything tonight. The kind of trust that says, God is here and I can rest. Many people spend their lives trying to manage every possibility, every outcome, every uncertainty. The mind becomes busy. The heart becomes tired. The soul becomes restless. And without realizing it, peace slowly slips away. But there comes a moment when wisdom whispers something different. A moment when the heart realizes that not every question needs an answer right now. Not every concern needs immediate attention. Not every uncertainty needs to be solved before sleep arrives. Some things can wait until tomorrow. And some things can simply be placed into God's hands. Imagine standing beside a quiet lake just before sunrise. The water is completely still. Not a ripple. Not a wave. The surface reflects the sky like a mirror. Everything feels calm. Everything feels peaceful. That image captures the spirit of Psalm 131. A heart no longer disturbed by every passing thought. A soul no longer pulled in every direction. A mind that has learned the beauty of stillness. Tonight, you are invited into that stillness. Not by force, not by effort, but gently. One breath at a time. One quiet moment at a time. one peaceful thought at a time. The night itself seems to encourage this kind of rest. The world grows quieter. The activity slows. The darkness covers the land like a soft blanket. Everything seems to whisper the same invitation. Slow down. Rest. Be still. There's no prize for carrying more than you were meant to carry. There is no reward for worrying through the night. There is no peace found in endless striving. Real peace often begins with surrender. Not surrender to fear. Not surrender to uncertainty. But surrender to God's care. A quiet trust that says, I do not know everything, but God does. I cannot see the entire road ahead, but God can. I do not need to carry tomorrow tonight. Imagine sitting near a fireplace on a peaceful evening. The flames move gently. The room is warm. The world outside feels far away. There is no urgency. No pressure. No need to rush. Only comfort. Only stillness. Only rest. That is what God desires for your heart tonight. Not a heart weighed down by endless concerns. Not a heart exhausted from trying to control everything. But a heart at peace. A heart that trusts. A heart that rests. A heart that knows it is loved. Perhaps there are things you cannot understand right now. Perhaps there are questions without answers. Perhaps there are situations still unfolding. That is all right. You do not need complete understanding in order to have peace. You only need enough trust to rest for this moment. Enough trust to close your eyes. Enough trust to slow your breathing. Enough trust to let go. The stars continue their journey across the heavens. The earth continues turning. And God continues watching over all things. Nothing has escaped his notice. Nothing has escaped his wisdom. Nothing has escaped his care. And because of that, you can rest. You can allow your thoughts to become quieter. You can allow your heart to become lighter. You can allow sleep to come naturally, like a peaceful child resting at the end of a long day. Safe, comforted, at peace. The night is gentle. God is near. And your soul can finally be still. No striving. No rushing. No fear. Only trust. Only peace. Only rest. And as the night grows deeper, may your heart settle more completely into God's loving care. May your mind become calm. May your soul become quiet. And may you discover the beautiful peace of a childlike heart, resting securely in the presence of God. There is something every human heart desires: to be known, truly known, not just recognized, not just noticed, but understood. To have someone see beyond the surface, beyond the smiles, beyond the routines, beyond the words we speak every day, and still remain, still care, still love. Psalm 139 offers one of the most comforting truths in all of Scripture. God knows you completely, not partially, not occasionally, not from a distance, completely. He knows your joys. He knows your fears. He knows the dreams you have shared with others, and the ones you have kept hidden in your heart. He knows the moments when you felt strong, and the moments when you felt uncertain, the moments when faith came easily, and the moments when questions felt heavy. Nothing surprises him. Nothing confuses him. Nothing causes him to turn away. Imagine an artist standing before a painting they have created. Every detail is familiar. Every brushstroke has meaning. Every color was chosen intentionally. The artist understands the work in a way no one else can. Not because the painting earned that attention, but because it was created with care. You are known by God in that way. Not as a number, not as a stranger, not as one face among millions, but as someone deeply known, deeply valued, deeply loved. There is something freeing about that truth, because so much of life is spent trying to be understood, trying to explain ourselves, trying to prove ourselves, trying to be seen. Yet before you spoke your first word, God already knew you. Before anyone else understood your story, He already understood it. Before you ever worried about tomorrow, He already saw every tomorrow you would face, and His love remained. Imagine walking through a quiet forest path at dusk, the trees standing tall around you, the evening light filtering softly through the branches. The path bends ahead. You cannot see around every corner. You do not know exactly what lies farther down the road, but someone who designed the path does. That image reflects part of what Psalm 139 teaches. God sees what we cannot. He understands what we do not. He knows the road ahead. Not with worry, not with uncertainty, but with perfect wisdom, perfect understanding, perfect love. Sometimes people fear being fully known because they think that if everything about them were revealed, they might not be accepted. They might not be loved. They might not be welcomed. Yet God's love works differently. He already knows every weakness, every mistake, every fear, every doubt, and His love remains. His kindness remains. His compassion remains. That is one of the most beautiful truths a weary heart can discover. You do not have to hide. You do not have to pretend. You do not have to carry the burden of appearing stronger than you feel. God already knows, and He already loves you. Imagine sitting beside a quiet window late at night. The room is peaceful. The world outside is silent. You are no longer trying to impress anyone. No longer trying to explain yourself. No longer trying to prove your worth. You simply rest. There is freedom in that kind of rest. A freedom that comes from knowing you are accepted, known completely, loved completely. Tonight, Perhaps your soul needs that reminder. You do not need to earn God's attention. You already have it. You do not need to earn His care. You already have it. You do not need to earn His love. You already have it. The God who formed the mountains knows your name. The God who set the oceans in place knows your story. The God who created the beauty of the world understands every detail of your life. And His love for you has not changed. Not because life has been perfect. Not because you have been perfect. But because His love is faithful, steady, reliable, unchanging. As the night grows deeper, allow yourself to rest in that truth. You are known. You are seen. You are understood. And you are loved. Completely. Without reservation. Without hesitation. The night remains quiet. God remains near. And His loving knowledge surrounds you like a gentle blanket. Nothing needs to be hidden. Nothing needs to be explained. Nothing needs to be proven. Only rest. Only peace. Only the quiet comfort of being fully known by God. And as sleep draws closer, may that truth settle deeply within your heart. You are known. You are loved. And you are safely held within the care of the one who understands you completely. As the night becomes quieter, and your thoughts become slower, there is one final truth to rest upon. The goodness of God never runs dry. It does not depend on the season. It does not depend on circumstances. It does not depend on how strong you feel today. God remains good. Always. Psalm 145 is filled with wonder. Not the wonder of something distant. Not the wonder of something impossible to reach. But the wonder of a God whose goodness touches every part of life. A goodness that has been present since the beginning. A goodness that remains today. A goodness that will continue tomorrow. Imagine standing beside the ocean. The waves roll toward the shore. Again. And again. And again. No one commands them to continue. No one reminds them what to do. They simply come. Steady. Faithful. Without interruption. God's goodness is like that. Constant. Reliable. Never exhausted. Never depleted. Every day people wake beneath His goodness. Every day the earth receives His care. Every day hearts are strengthened in ways they may never fully recognize. And tonight, His goodness surrounds you too. Perhaps there have been times when life felt uncertain. Times when the road ahead seemed unclear. Times when fear tried to convince you that you were alone. Yet somehow, you kept moving forward. Strength appeared when it was needed. Help arrived when it was needed. Hope returned when it was needed. Looking back, you may see traces of God's goodness there. Quiet traces. Gentle traces. Faithful traces. The kind that are often easiest to recognize in hindsight. Imagine walking through a beautiful orchard during late summer. The branches are heavy with fruit. The air feels warm and peaceful. Every tree has received what it needed. Sunlight, rain, time. The result is abundance. Not because the trees worried, not because they rushed, but because they received what was faithfully provided. There is a lesson hidden there. God's goodness is constantly providing what the soul needs. Not always what the soul expects. Not always what the soul requests. But what the soul truly needs. Wisdom when confusion appears. Comfort when sadness arrives. Strength when challenges emerge. Peace when the heart feels unsettled. His goodness meets people in countless ways. Most of them quiet. Most of them gentle. Most of them easily overlooked. Yet they are real. Think for a moment about the countless ordinary blessings that fill life. A peaceful evening. A kind word. A warm meal. A moment of laughter. A memory that brings comfort. A person who cares. A prayer that brings peace. A burden that becomes lighter. These things may seem ordinary, yet they are gifts. Small reminders that God's goodness continues flowing through everyday life. Psalm 145 celebrates that goodness, not as a temporary gift, but as an endless reality. Generation after generation has discovered the same truth. God remains faithful. God remains kind. God remains good. Empires have risen and fallen. Seasons have come and gone. Lives have begun and ended. Yet His goodness has remained. Steady, patient, enduring. Tonight, you do not need to measure how much goodness remains. There is no shortage, no limitation, no fear that God's kindness will suddenly disappear. His goodness is greater than your worries, greater than your fears, greater than your uncertainties, greater even than your understanding. Imagine sitting on a quiet hillside as evening slowly becomes night. The sky deepens. The air cools. Everything becomes calm. You are not asking anything from the moment. You are simply enjoying it, receiving it, resting within it. That is how God's goodness can be received tonight. Not through striving, not through effort, not through endless thinking. Simply by resting, simply by trusting, simply by allowing your heart to be still. As the hours of the night continue, His goodness remains. As sleep slowly draws near, His goodness remains. As tomorrow eventually arrives, His goodness remains. The same goodness, the same kindness, the same faithful love. And because of that, your heart can rest. Your mind can grow quiet. Your breathing can become slow and peaceful. There is no need to fear the night. No need to fear tomorrow. No need to fear the unknown. For God's goodness goes before you. God's goodness walks beside you. And God's goodness remains with you. Tonight, tomorrow, and through every chapter yet to come. The night is peaceful. Your heart is safe. And the endless goodness of God surrounds you completely. So rest now. Rest deeply. Rest peacefully. For you are held within a love that never ends, and a goodness that never fails. The night is very quiet now. The words are becoming softer. The thoughts are becoming slower. And sleep may already be drawing nearer. There's nothing more you need to learn tonight. Nothing more you need to figure out. Nothing more you need to carry. This is simply a time for rest. A time to let go. A time to become still. A time to rest in the presence of God. The day is finished. Its work is complete. Its worries can wait. Its questions can rest. Tomorrow is not asking anything from you right now. Tomorrow can remain where it belongs. In God's hands. Safe. Secure. Held. And you can be held there too. Allow your breathing to become slow and easy. No effort. No pressure. Just gentle breaths. In and out. Slowly. Quietly. Peacefully. With every breath, allow your body to relax a little more. Your shoulders becoming lighter. Your jaw relaxing. Your hands resting peacefully. Your entire body preparing for deep and restful sleep. God is near. You do not need to search for him. You do not need to call him closer. You do not need to earn his attention. He is already here. Already present. Already caring. Already loving you. The night remains calm. The world grows quieter. The hours pass gently. And through it all, God remains faithful. Faithful in every season. Faithful in every chapter. Faithful through every night. Perhaps there are still a few thoughts lingering in your mind. A concern. A question. A memory. A responsibility waiting for tomorrow. That is all right. You do not need to fight those thoughts. You do not need to chase them away. Simply let them pass, like leaves floating down a quiet stream, appearing for a moment, then drifting away. No need to hold them. No need to follow them. Just let them go. The night was not created for striving. The night was created for rest, for renewal, for peace. And tonight, that peace is available to you. Not because everything is perfect. Not because every question has been answered. But because God remains good. And his goodness is enough. As sleep comes closer, allow these simple truths to settle within your heart. God is near. You can rest. God is faithful. You can rest. God is good. You can rest. You are known. You can rest. You are loved. You can rest. You are safe in God's care. You can rest. The night continues quietly. The earth continues turning. The hours continue passing. And all is well. Not because life is perfect, but because God is present. And his presence brings peace. Imagine a soft light glowing in the distance. Warm, gentle, steady. It does not flicker. It does not disappear. It remains. That light is a reminder of God's faithfulness. Constant, reliable, unchanging. As the night deepens, there is less and less that needs your attention. The plans can wait. The decisions can wait. The responsibilities can wait. This moment belongs to rest. This moment belongs to peace. This moment belongs to quiet trust. God is near. You are loved. God is faithful. You are held. God is good. You are safe. Nothing more is required tonight. Nothing more needs to be accomplished. Nothing more needs to be carried. Only rest. Only peace. Only the quiet comfort of God's presence. Sleep gently now. Sleep peacefully. Sleep deeply. Sleep securely. May your mind become quiet. May your heart become calm. May your soul find rest. And may the peace of God remain with you throughout the night. Good night, dear friend. Good night. Rest well. Rest deeply. Rest peacefully. For God is near, and His love remains. Now, through the night, and into the morning that will come in its perfect time. Sleep well. Sleep peacefully. And rest in the endless goodness of God. The night has become very quiet now. The world outside has slowed. Many lights have gone out. Many homes have become still. And perhaps your own thoughts have begun to slow as well. Not completely, but little by little. Like waves settling after a storm. Like dust slowly drifting to the ground. Like a candle burning with a calm and steady flame. In this peaceful moment, listen to these gentle words from Psalm 27. The Lord is my light. There is something comforting about light, especially when darkness surrounds us. A single light can change an entire room. A single lantern can guide a traveler. A single candle can make a dark place feel welcoming. Light does not struggle against darkness. It simply shines. And the darkness cannot remain the same. God's presence often works that way. Not through force. Not through noise. Not through fear. But through quiet light. A light that gently guides. A light that gently comforts. A light that gently reminds us we are not alone. Imagine walking along a peaceful path during the early hours before sunrise. The sky is still dark. The world is still quiet. The road ahead is not fully visible. Yet there's enough light to take the next step. And then the next. And then another. Life is often like that. We wish we could see everything. We wish we could know every answer. We wish we could understand every chapter before it arrives. But God rarely shows us the entire journey at once. Instead, He provides enough light for the step we are taking today. Enough wisdom for this moment. Enough grace for this day. Enough peace for this night. Imagine standing beside a lighthouse on a quiet shoreline. The sea stretches far into the distance. The night sky hangs above. The air is cool and calm. Far out across the water, Ships move through the darkness, and from the shore, the lighthouse continues shining, steady, faithful, unchanging. The lighthouse does not chase the ships. It does not force them where to go. It simply shines, hour after hour, night after night. God's guidance often feels like that. Steady, patient, reliable, not hurried, not anxious, not uncertain, just faithful. Perhaps tonight there are things you cannot fully see. Questions about the future. Decisions waiting to be made. Roads not yet traveled. That is all right. You do not need to see everything tonight. You only need enough peace for this moment. Enough trust to rest. Enough trust to sleep. Enough trust to place tomorrow into God's hands. Imagine a small cottage glowing warmly on a distant hillside. The night around it is dark, but the windows shine softly. Warm light spills into the evening. Anyone approaching that home would know immediately. There is safety there. There is warmth there. There is welcome there. God's presence is like that. A place of peace in a restless world. A place of comfort in uncertain seasons. A place where the weary heart can finally rest. Psalm 27 is not a psalm of panic. It is a psalm of confidence. Not confidence in circumstances. Not confidence in human strength. Confidence in God. The kind of confidence that allows a person to breathe deeply, to rest peacefully, to trust quietly. Imagine sitting beside a window while rain falls gently outside. The room is warm. The chair is comfortable. The sound of the rain is soft and steady. You do not feel the need to rush anywhere. You do not feel the need to solve every problem. You simply sit and rest. That is what trust can feel like. Not having every answer, but having peace anyway. Because God remains faithful. Because His light remains. Because His goodness remains. The night may still contain mysteries. The future may still contain unknowns. The road ahead may still contain turns you cannot yet see. Yet God's light remains steady, just as it has for countless generations, just as it remains tonight. As you continue resting here, allow your heart to release the need to know everything. Release the need to control everything. Release the need to carry tomorrow tonight. Let those burdens become lighter. Let those concerns drift away. Let your thoughts settle. God is your light, and His light is enough. Enough for this evening. Enough for this night. Enough for tomorrow. The world grows quieter. Your breathing grows slower. Your heart grows calmer. And through it all, God's gentle light continues shining. Steady, faithful, peaceful, guiding, comforting, remaining. So rest now. Rest without fear. Rest without striving. Rest without hurry. The light of God's presence remains with you, and it will remain through every hour of the night. Sleep peacefully. Sleep deeply. Sleep securely. For God is your light, and his light never fades. As the night continues and your mind becomes quieter, imagine a peaceful place, a place untouched by hurry, untouched by noise, untouched by the endless demands of the world. A place where time seems to move more slowly, where the air feels calm, where everything rests exactly where it belongs. In that peaceful place stands a tree, strong, steady, quiet. It has stood there through many seasons, many summers, many winters, many years. Storms have come and gone. Winds have risen and faded. Rain has fallen. Sunlight has returned. Yet the tree remains, not because it is the strongest tree in the world, not because it never faces difficult weather, but because its roots run deep, deep enough to reach the water that sustains it, deep enough to remain steady when circumstances change. Psalm 1 paints a picture very much like this. A life rooted in God, a heart grounded in His wisdom, a soul that finds nourishment in His presence. There is something beautiful about stability. In a world where so many things change, stability becomes a gift. The seasons change, people change, plans change, circumstances change, yet God remains faithful. And those who learn to rest in Him discover a deeper kind of steadiness. Imagine sitting beneath that great tree, its branches stretching overhead, its leaves moving gently in the breeze. The ground cold beneath you. The world feels peaceful here. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, nothing demanding. Only stillness, only quiet, only rest. The tree does not spend its days worrying about the next season. It does not fear tomorrow's weather. It does not anxiously wonder what next year will bring. Instead, it remains rooted. And because it remains rooted, it remains strong. There is wisdom in that. Many people spend much of their lives worrying about future storms. Storms that may never come. Storms they cannot control. Storms they cannot predict. And in doing so, they miss the peace available in the present moment. But tonight, there is no need to live in tomorrow. Tonight belongs to rest. Tonight belongs to peace. Tonight belongs to stillness. Imagine a gentle stream flowing beside that tree. The water moves slowly, calmly, steadily, not rushing, not struggling, simply flowing according to its nature. Day after day, season after season, year after year, the tree receives what it needs from that stream. Quietly, consistently, faithfully. God's presence often works in a similar way. Not always through dramatic moments, not always through extraordinary experiences, but through steady nourishment, daily grace, quiet strength, gentle peace, the kind of gifts that sustain a soul over time. Imagine the tree during spring, new leaves appearing, fresh growth beginning. Then imagine summer, the branches full, the shade generous, the tree flourishing. Then autumn, golden leaves drifting softly to the ground. And then winter, the landscape quiet, the branches resting. Every season has its purpose. Every season has its beauty. Every season has its lessons. And through them all, the tree remains rooted. Life moves through seasons too. There are seasons of growth, seasons of waiting, seasons of change, seasons of rest. Perhaps you can recognize some of those seasons in your own story. Perhaps there were times of abundance, times of learning, times of uncertainty, times of healing. And through every season, God remained faithful. The same faithful God who carried you before. The same faithful God who carries you tonight. As the night grows deeper, allow your thoughts to become like that peaceful tree. Not racing from place to place. Not chasing every worry. Not following every fear. Simply rooted. Simply steady. Simply at rest. The wind may move through the branches, but the roots remain secure. Thoughts may come and go. Memories may come and go. Questions may come and go. But your soul can remain at peace. Rooted in God's care. Rooted in God's love. Rooted in God's faithfulness. The stream continues flowing. The tree continues resting. The night continues quietly. And God continues providing exactly what is needed. Not all at once, not years in advance, but moment by moment, day by day, season by season. That has always been His way. And tonight, it is enough. The tree does not strive. The stream does not hurry. The night does not rush, and neither do you. You are free to rest, free to breathe, free to let go. The roots are deep. The stream is near. The night is peaceful, and God's faithful care surrounds you. So settle a little deeper into rest now. Allow your breathing to slow. Allow your thoughts to soften. Allow your heart to become still. Like a tree planted beside living waters, you are safely held, quietly nourished, deeply cared for. And through every season, God remains faithful. As the night grows deeper, there is one more gift that can bring peace to a weary heart. A thankful heart. Not a heart that ignores difficulties. Not a heart that pretends life is perfect. But a heart that notices goodness. A heart that remembers blessings. A heart that quietly says, "Thank you." Psalm 100 is filled with gratitude. Not forced gratitude. Not hurried gratitude. But the kind that rises naturally when a person pauses long enough to notice how much has been given. Imagine standing in a quiet garden at the end of summer. The evening air is gentle. The flowers are still. The last light of day lingers softly on the horizon. Everything feels calm. Everything feels complete. In moments like that, gratitude often arrives without effort. Not because someone tells you to be thankful, but because your heart naturally responds to beauty. There is beauty in ordinary blessings. The blessing of another day. The blessing of a familiar voice. the blessing of a peaceful evening, the blessing of a moment of rest. Many of life's greatest gifts arrive quietly. They do not announce themselves. They do not demand attention. They simply appear. Day after day. A warm cup of tea. A kind smile. A comforting memory. A prayer whispered in faith. Small things, yet meaningful things. The kind of things that remind us God is present even in ordinary moments. Imagine an old wooden table in a cozy home. A family gathered around it. Simple food. Simple conversation. Simple laughter. Nothing extraordinary. Yet years later, those are often the moments people treasure most. Not because they were grand, but because they were filled with love. God's goodness often appears that way. Not always through dramatic moments, but through quiet moments, gentle moments, meaningful moments. Perhaps there are blessings in your own life that deserve a quiet moment of gratitude tonight. A challenge you overcame. A friendship that brought encouragement. A season of healing. A lesson learned. A moment when strength arrived exactly when it was needed. A door that opened. A burden that became lighter. A prayer that brought peace. Take a moment to remember. Not every blessing. Just one or two. Enough to warm the heart. Enough to remind you that God has been faithful. Gratitude has a gentle way of changing the atmosphere within us. It softens anxiety. It quiets complaints. It reminds us of what is already present rather than only what is missing. And that creates space for peace. Imagine sitting beside a fireplace on a cold evening. The room is warm. The fire glows softly. Outside, the night is quiet. You are not wishing to be somewhere else. You are not chasing the next thing. You are simply appreciating the comfort of the moment. That is gratitude. Not complicated. Not dramatic. Simply noticing the goodness that is already here. Psalm 100 reminds us that God's care is constant. His faithfulness continues. His kindness remains. His love endures. Generation after generation. Year after year. Night after night. Long before you were born, His faithfulness was present. And long after this day is past, His faithfulness will remain. That truth can bring a deep sense of calm, because it reminds us that we are not carrying life alone. We are walking within a story much bigger than ourselves. A story guided by a faithful God. Imagine looking across a peaceful valley beneath the moonlight. The hills rest quietly. The trees stand silently. The night wraps everything in stillness. Nothing seems hurried. Nothing seems worried. Everything simply rests. And perhaps your heart can rest there too. Not dwelling on what went wrong today. Not replaying every mistake. Not worrying about tomorrow. But resting in gratitude. Resting in God's goodness. Resting in His faithful care. As sleep draws nearer, let thankfulness become simple. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this moment of peace. Thank you for carrying me through another day. Thank you for your patience, your kindness, your faithful love. These quiet words do not need to be spoken aloud. They can simply rest within the heart, like a gentle prayer carried into the night. And as gratitude settles in, peace often follows. The mind grows quieter, the heart grows lighter, the soul grows calmer. The night continues peacefully. God remains near, and His goodness continues to surround you. So rest now with a thankful heart. Rest with quiet joy. Rest with peaceful confidence. For the God who has been faithful throughout this day will remain faithful throughout the night. And that is more than enough. By now, the night has become very still. The hours move quietly. The world grows silent. And perhaps your body is already beginning to drift towards sleep. If so, that is perfectly all right. There is nothing you need to hold on to. Nothing you need to remember. Nothing you need to accomplish. Simply listen, or simply rest. Psalm 68 reminds us of something deeply comforting. God cares for the weary. He notices tired hearts. He notices heavy burdens. He notices quiet struggles that no one else may see. There are many kinds of tiredness. Physical tiredness, mental tiredness, emotional tiredness, the kind of tiredness that comes from carrying responsibilities, the kind that comes from facing uncertainty, the kind that comes from simply living through difficult seasons. Perhaps you have known some of those forms of weariness. Most people do. At one time or another, life asks much of us, sometimes more than we expect. And after a while, the soul longs for rest, not temporary distraction, not another task, not another demand, just rest. Imagine a traveler walking a long road. The journey has lasted all day. The sun has crossed the sky. The miles have added up. The traveler's feet are tired. The traveler's shoulders are tired. The traveler's mind is tired. And then, in the distance, a welcoming place appears. A place to stop. A place to sit. A place to rest. The traveler does not need to earn that rest. The traveler simply receives it. God's care is like that. An invitation to rest. An invitation to stop carrying everything alone. An invitation to let weary shoulders relax. Imagine a gentle evening settling over a quiet countryside. The fields rest beneath the fading light. The birds return to their nests. The air becomes cool and peaceful. Everything seems to understand that it is time to rest. Nothing resists it. Nothing fights against it. Nothing tries to keep working forever. Creation accepts the gift of rest. And perhaps tonight, you can accept that gift as well. Not because every responsibility has disappeared. Not because every challenge has ended. But because your soul was never meant to carry endless burdens without rest. God understands that. He understands human weakness. He understands human limitations. He understands how easily the heart can become tired. And His response is not disappointment. His response is compassion. Imagine a quiet cabin beside a forest. The evening fire burns softly. The room feels warm. The chairs are comfortable. Outside, the night grows darker. Inside, everything feels peaceful, safe, calm, restful. That is the atmosphere God's presence creates within the heart. Not pressure, not fear, not exhaustion. Peace, a deep and gentle peace. The kind that allows the soul to breathe again. Perhaps there are things you have been carrying for a long time. Worries, responsibilities, questions, disappointments. Tonight, you do not need to solve them. You do not need to carry them through the night. You do not need to keep turning them over in your mind. For now, you can simply rest. Imagine placing every burden into God's hands, one by one, slowly, gently. The burden of tomorrow, the burden of uncertainty, the burden of things beyond your control. Each one placed down, each one released. You were never meant to carry everything alone, and God never asked you to. The stars continue their journey across the sky. The earth continues turning. The night continues unfolding. And God continues caring for his children. Quietly, faithfully, tenderly. There is comfort in knowing that his care does not depend on your strength. It does not depend on your energy. It does not depend on your ability to keep everything together. His care remains, even when you feel tired, even when you feel uncertain, even when you feel weary. Especially then. Imagine lying beneath a warm blanket on a peaceful night. The room is quiet. The air is still. Everything feels safe. There is nothing left to prove. Nothing left to earn. Nothing left to carry. Only rest. Only peace. Only the quiet comfort of knowing that God is near. As sleep draws closer, allow your heart to become lighter. Allow your thoughts to become softer. Allow your breathing to become slow and peaceful. You have carried enough for today. You have done enough for today. You have thought enough for today. Now it is time to rest. The God who lifts the weary is with you. The God who strengthens tired hearts is with you. The God who gently carries his children is with you. And because he is near, you can rest deeply, peacefully, completely. The night is calm. Your heart is safe. And God's loving care surrounds you. The night is quiet now. Very quiet. The world seems to be resting. The roads have grown calmer. The noise of the day has faded. And as you rest here, perhaps your imagination can wander for a little while. Not toward worries, not toward responsibilities, but toward the beauty of God's creation. Psalm 104 is filled with wonder. It notices things many people pass by without seeing. The mountains, the valleys, the forests, the skies. Simple things, beautiful things, things that quietly reveal the care of their Creator. Imagine standing on a gentle hillside just before sunrise. The air is cool and fresh. The earth is still covered in soft shadows. Everything feels peaceful. The world is not fully awakened yet. There is only silence, only stillness, only anticipation. Far in the distance, the first light begins to appear. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, gently, a soft glow touching the horizon, the sky changing color little by little. Shades of blue, hints of gold, touches of rose and silver. The earth seems to awaken with gratitude. The hills receive the morning light. The trees receive the warmth of the day. The fields begin to glow. There is beauty in these quiet beginnings. Beauty that asks nothing from us. Beauty that simply exists. Imagine walking along a forest path. Tall trees stretching overhead. Leaves moving gently in the breeze. The scent of earth and wood filling the air. Sunlight filters through the branches, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. Everything feels calm. Everything feels balanced. Everything feels at peace. The forest is not rushing. The trees are not anxious. The birds are not worried about tomorrow. Each part of creation simply lives within the rhythm God has given it. There is wisdom in that rhythm. A quiet wisdom. A peaceful wisdom. The kind that reminds us life was not meant to be lived in constant hurry. Imagine a mountain rising above the landscape. Steady. Strong. Silent. Year after year it stands. Season after season. Generation after generation. Storms pass over it. Snow falls upon it. Rain washes across it. Yet it remains. There is something calming about things that endure. Things that remain steady through changing seasons. God's faithfulness is like that. Steady. Reliable. Unshaken. Imagine now a wide meadow stretching beneath an open sky. Tall grasses moving softly in the wind. Wildflowers scattered across the landscape. Butterflies drifting lazily through the afternoon air. Everything seems gentle. Everything seems unhurried. The earth simply receives the care of its creator. And in that care, it flourishes. Psalm 104 invites us to notice these things, not because nature itself is the source of peace, but because nature reflects the wisdom and goodness of the one who created it. Every mountain, every river, every tree, every breeze, each one quietly points back to God. Imagine standing beside a peaceful river, the water moving slowly over smooth stones, the sound soft and rhythmic, nothing rushed, nothing forced, only steady movement, hour after hour, day after day. The river does not struggle to be a river. It simply flows. There are moments when life becomes more peaceful when we learn to stop striving endlessly and simply trust God with the journey. Imagine the evening returning once more, the sun lowering behind distant hills, the sky glowing with warm colors, gold, amber, soft purple. The world begins preparing for rest. Birds return to their nests. The fields grow quiet. The forests become still. Everything seems to understand that the day is complete. There is nothing left to prove. Nothing left to accomplish. Nothing left to chase. Only rest. Only peace. Only stillness. As you listen tonight, perhaps you can picture yourself sitting quietly within this beautiful creation. A gentle breeze moving through the trees. The scent of fresh earth in the air. The sound of distant water. The warmth of God's presence surrounding everything. And surrounding you. There is something deeply comforting about remembering that the God who formed mountains and valleys also knows your name. The God who cares for forests and rivers also cares for your heart. The God who guides the seasons also guides your life. Nothing is overlooked. Nothing is forgotten. Not in creation, and not in your story. The night continues peacefully. The earth rests beneath the stars. The world remains held within God's care. And so can you. Like the mountains, like the forests, like the rivers, you can rest within the wisdom of your Creator. You can release your worries. You can quiet your thoughts. You can allow sleep to come gently. For the God whose beauty fills creation is watching over you tonight. The hills rest. The forests rest. The rivers continue their gentle song. And your heart can rest too. Deeply, peacefully, safely, held within the care of the one who made all beautiful things. As the night continues, and the hours pass quietly, there is something comforting about remembering how much larger God is than our understanding. Not in a distant way, not in a frightening way, but in a peaceful way, a reassuring way, a way that allows the heart to rest. Psalm 90 gently reminds us that God's perspective stretches far beyond our own. He sees what we cannot see. He understands what we cannot yet understand. He holds the beginning and the ending together in His hands. And because of that, we do not need to carry the weight of knowing everything. Imagine standing on a hill overlooking a winding road. The road curves through valleys, around hillsides, through forests and open fields. A traveler walking that road can only see a short distance ahead. One bend at a time, one stretch of path at a time. But from above, the entire journey is visible. The traveler sees a small part. The one above sees the whole picture. Life often feels that way. We see today, perhaps tomorrow, a few plans, a few hopes, but God sees the entire road. Every turn, every season, every chapter, and somehow, that truth can be very comforting, because it means the future does not depend entirely on us. It does not depend entirely on our understanding. It does not depend entirely on our strength. God is already there, already present in tomorrow, already present in next month, already present in seasons we have not yet reached. Imagine watching the stars move slowly across the sky. The night seems endless. The heavens seem vast. The universe seems larger than words can describe. Yet God knows every part of it. Every distant star. Every hidden corner. Every movement and every moment. The same wisdom that governs the heavens is also guiding your life. Not carelessly, not randomly, but thoughtfully, lovingly, faithfully. Sometimes people become weary because they feel responsible for figuring everything out. Every decision, every outcome, every uncertainty. The mind keeps searching. The heart keeps worrying. The soul struggles to find rest. But tonight, perhaps God is offering a gentler invitation. An invitation to trust what you cannot yet understand. An invitation to rest within His wisdom. An invitation to release the pressure of needing all the answers. Imagine an old clock quietly marking the passing hours. Its hands move steadily, patiently, without hurry. The clock does not rush toward morning. It does not resist the night. It simply moves according to the rhythm it was given. There is something peaceful about that image, because so much anxiety comes from trying to move faster than the season we are in. Trying to rush growth. Trying to rush healing. Trying to rush understanding. Yet some things cannot be rushed. Some lessons require time. Some healing requires time. Some answers require time. And God's wisdom knows exactly when each thing should unfold. Imagine a gardener caring for a beautiful garden. The gardener does not expect every flower to bloom on the same day. He understands the seasons. He understands timing. He understands growth. God understands your life with that same wisdom. He is not confused by delays. He is not surprised by detours. He is not worried by unanswered questions. He sees the whole picture. The beginning, the middle, and the ending. As the night grows deeper, allow that truth to lighten your heart. You do not need to know everything tonight. You do not need to understand every chapter. You do not need to solve every mystery. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to trust. You are allowed to sleep. The future remains safely in God's hands. The present moment remains safely in God's hands. And so do you. Imagine sitting beside a quiet lake beneath a sky filled with stars. The water is still. The air is calm. The night feels endless and peaceful. In a moment like that, many worries seem smaller. Not because they disappear, but because we remember that God is greater than them. Greater than uncertainty. Greater than fear. Greater than anything that troubles the heart. His wisdom stretches beyond what we can imagine. And His love remains close enough to comfort us tonight. That balance is beautiful. A God greater than the heavens, yet near enough to hear every prayer. A God beyond all understanding, yet close enough to care about every detail of your life. As sleep comes nearer, let that truth settle gently within you. God knows what you do not know. God sees what you do not see. God understands what you do not yet understand. And because of that, you can rest. The night does not require answers. The night invites trust. The night invites peace. The clock continues its quiet rhythm. The stars continue their journey. The earth continues turning. And God continues faithfully guiding all things, including you. So rest now. Rest deeply. Rest peacefully. For the wisdom of God is greater than every question, and His faithful care surrounds you through every hour of the night. The night has a unique way of bringing memories to the surface. During the day, there are many distractions, many tasks, many voices. But at night, things become quieter, and sometimes the heart begins to remember old seasons, old prayers, old chapters of life. Psalm 77 speaks to those moments. Moments when a person looks back and remembers not only the struggles, but also the faithfulness of God. There is wisdom in remembering correctly. Many people remember only their difficulties, only their disappointments, only the hard parts of the journey. But the psalmist chose to remember something else. The ways God had carried him before. The ways God had helped him before. The ways God had remained faithful before. Imagine sitting beside a small fire on a quiet evening. The flames move gently. The air is cool. The stars shine overhead. You begin thinking about the road you have traveled, not just the destination. The road itself, the hills you climbed, the valleys you crossed, the storms you endured. And slowly, you begin to notice something. You did not walk those roads alone. God was there, even in moments when you did not fully realize it. There were days when strength appeared unexpectedly. Days when comfort arrived unexpectedly. Days when hope returned unexpectedly. Looking back now, those moments seem clearer. God's fingerprints can often be seen most clearly in hindsight. Imagine a sailor crossing a vast sea. While sailing through the storm, it may be difficult to understand what is happening. The waves are high. The sky is dark. The wind is strong. But after reaching calm waters, the sailor looks back and sees the journey differently. The storm was real. The difficulty was real. Yet somehow, he was carried through it. Life often works the same way. There are seasons that seem overwhelming while we are living them. Seasons that feel endless. Seasons that test our faith. Yet later, when we look back, we see that God never left us. He remained quietly, faithfully, steadily. Tonight, perhaps there are chapters of your own life that come to mind, not to trouble you, not to keep you awake, but simply to remind you how far you have come. Think about a challenge you once believed would never end, a season that felt impossible, a burden that felt too heavy, a road that felt too long. Yet here you are. The season passed, the road continued, and God's grace carried you through. That does not mean every chapter was easy. It does not mean every prayer was answered immediately. It does not mean every question disappeared. But it does mean God remained faithful. Faithful through confusion. Faithful through waiting. Faithful through uncertainty. Imagine listening to a gentle melody late at night. The music is soft, slow, peaceful. It seems to float through the quiet air, not demanding attention, simply offering comfort. Psalm 77 speaks of songs in the night, not songs that ignore pain, not songs that pretend life is easy, but songs that remember God's faithfulness even in difficult seasons. Songs that remind the heart there is still hope, still goodness, still grace. The beautiful thing about faithfulness is that it builds confidence over time. Every season God carries you through becomes another reminder, another testimony, another reason to trust Him again. The God who was faithful before remains faithful tonight. The God who guided you then continues guiding you now. The God who helped you before continues helping you still. As the night grows deeper, let those memories become gentle reminders. Not reminders of fear, not reminders of struggle, reminders of faithfulness, reminders of grace, reminders of God's care. Imagine a river flowing beneath the moonlight. The water reflects the stars. The current moves steadily, peacefully. The river keeps moving forward, not rushing, not stopping, simply continuing. Your life has continued that way too. Through every season, through every challenge, through every chapter, and through it all, God has remained near. As sleep draws closer, allow your heart to rest in that truth. The story is not finished, but God remains faithful. The road continues, but God remains faithful. Tomorrow has not yet arrived, but God remains faithful. The stars continue shining. The night remains peaceful, and God's love remains steady. You are not alone. You never have been, and you never will be. So rest now. Rest within the memory of God's goodness. Rest within the memory of His faithfulness. Rest within the quiet assurance that He continues walking with you. The songs of the night are gentle. The night itself is peaceful, and your heart can rest safely within God's care. Sleep peacefully. Sleep deeply. Sleep without fear. For the God who carried you yesterday is carrying you tonight. The night is deep now. Very deep. Perhaps your eyes are already heavy. Perhaps your thoughts are drifting more slowly. Perhaps sleep is drawing near. And if it is, allow it to come. There is nothing left to accomplish tonight. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to carry. Psalm 127 offers a gentle reminder. A reminder that many weary hearts need to hear. The Lord builds what lasts. Not human striving. Not endless effort. Not constant worrying. The Lord builds what lasts. There is something freeing about that truth, because so much of life can feel like work. So much can feel like responsibility. So much can feel heavy. People spend countless hours trying to hold everything together, trying to manage every detail, trying to prepare for every possibility, trying to control every outcome. And after a while, the soul becomes tired. Not because effort is wrong, but because some burdens were never meant to be carried alone. Imagine a gardener planting seeds in a field. The gardener prepares the soil. The gardener plants carefully. The gardener waters faithfully. But the gardener cannot make the seed grow. Growth itself remains a gift. Something beyond human control. Something God provides. There is wisdom in understanding the difference. The difference between what belongs to us and what belongs to God. Many people carry responsibilities that belong to them, but they also carry responsibilities that do not. Responsibilities that only God can hold. The future, the outcome, the timing, the unfolding of events beyond human control. Tonight, perhaps some of those burdens can be released. Not forever, just for now, just for this night. Imagine standing beside a quiet river. In your hands are several heavy stones. Each stone represents a burden, a worry, a fear, a responsibility. You have carried them for a long time, perhaps longer than necessary. Now imagine placing them down beside the river, one by one, not throwing them away, not pretending they do not exist, simply choosing not to carry them tonight. The burden of tomorrow, placed down. The burden of uncertainty, placed down. The burden of needing every answer, placed down. The burden of trying to control everything, placed down. And with every burden released, your hands become lighter. Your shoulders become lighter. Your heart becomes lighter. Psalm 127 reminds us that God gives rest to those he loves. What a beautiful thought. Rest is a gift, not a reward, not something earned. A gift, a loving gift from a faithful father. Imagine a child falling asleep in a safe home. The child is not worrying about tomorrow's meals. The child is not worrying about paying the bills. The child is not worrying about protecting the house. The child simply sleeps because someone else is watching over those things. There is wisdom in that image, not because adults become children, but because trust allows the heart to rest. Trust says, God is watching over what I cannot. Trust says, God is working even while I sleep. Trust says, I do not need to carry the whole world tonight. Imagine the stars above, silent, steady, ancient. Night after night they appear, year after year, generation after generation. Long before your worries arrived, God was sustaining the universe. And long after this night passes, he will continue sustaining it. That realization can be very peaceful, because it reminds us that everything does not depend on us. The world keeps turning. The seasons keep changing. The stars keep shining. And God keeps working, faithfully, quietly, without interruption, even while we rest, especially while we rest. As the night grows deeper, allow yourself to release the need to strive, release the need to manage everything, release the need to solve everything. Release the need to understand everything. The night was not designed for striving. It was designed for rest, for renewal, for trust. The burdens can wait until morning. The questions can wait until morning. The plans can wait until morning. For now, there is only peace, only stillness, only the quiet comfort of God's care. The river continues flowing. The stars continue shining. The earth continues resting beneath the night sky. And you can rest too. You do not need to hold everything together. God is already doing that. You do not need to carry every burden. God is already carrying what is too heavy for you. You do not need to stay awake guarding tomorrow. Tomorrow is already in His hands. Safe, secure, held, just as you are. So let your thoughts become quiet now. Let your breathing become slow. Let your heart become calm. For the Lord builds what lasts. And while He faithfully works, you are free to rest. The night is peaceful now. Very peaceful. The hours move quietly across the sky. The world rests beneath the stars. And your own heart may be growing calmer with every passing moment. As we continue this gentle journey through the Psalms, let us reflect on a simple and beautiful truth. A blessed life is often built from ordinary things, not extraordinary things, not dramatic things, not things that attract attention, but simple gifts, quiet gifts, everyday gifts. Psalm 128 paints a picture of that kind of life. A life rooted in peace. A life rooted in gratitude. A life rooted in God's care. Imagine a small home resting on a gentle hillside. Warm light shines through the windows. A soft breeze moves through the trees nearby. The evening feels calm and welcoming. Nothing about the home is extravagant. Nothing about it demands admiration. Yet there is something deeply beautiful about it. It feels peaceful. It feels safe. It feels loved. There are many people who spend years searching for happiness in distant places. Always looking ahead. Always reaching for more. Always believing peace exists somewhere else. Yet often, the deepest blessings are already close. A familiar voice, a shared meal, a quiet evening, a peaceful morning, a prayer spoken with sincerity, a heart that knows it is loved. These things may seem small, yet they are treasures. Imagine sitting on a porch at sunset. The day is ending. The sky glows with warm colors. The air is cool and comfortable. There is nowhere you need to be. Nothing demanding your attention. Only this moment. Only this peace. Only this quiet gratitude. Psalm 128 reminds us that blessing often grows where faithfulness grows. Like a garden carefully tended over time. Not rushed. Not forced. Simply cared for. Day after day. Season after season. Imagine a garden filled with healthy plants. Flowers blooming peacefully. Trees providing shade. Fruit growing slowly on the branches. The beauty did not appear overnight. It came through patience, through care, Through time, many of God's blessings arrive that way. Slowly, quietly, faithfully. Not all at once, not according to our schedules, but according to His wisdom. As the years pass, those blessings become easier to recognize. A friendship that remained strong, a family member who stood beside you, a lesson that made you wiser, a difficult season that made you stronger. The blessing of simply being carried through life by God's faithful hand. Imagine a peaceful village at the end of the day. Lights glowing in the windows. Families gathering for the evening. The sounds of life becoming quieter. Everything feels calm. Everything feels settled. There is a beauty in ordinary life that is often overlooked. A beauty that does not depend on wealth. A beauty that does not depend on status. A beauty that does not depend on recognition. A beauty rooted in contentment. Rooted in gratitude. Rooted in God's presence. Tonight, perhaps you can allow yourself to notice those simple blessings. Not every blessing from your entire life. Just a few. Enough to warm your heart. Enough to bring a gentle smile. Perhaps a memory comes to mind. A kind conversation. A peaceful evening. A moment when everything felt calm and right. Hold that memory gently. Let it remind you that God's goodness has been present in many quiet ways. Ways that may not always have been obvious at the time, yet ways that shaped your life nonetheless. The beautiful thing about God's blessings is that they are not always loud. Many arrive quietly, like morning sunlight entering a room, like rain nourishing the earth during the night, like a gentle breeze moving through the trees. Easy to overlook, yet deeply important. As the night continues, allow your heart to rest within those simple gifts. The gift of this moment, the gift of this breath, the gift of God's faithful presence. You do not need extraordinary things tonight. You do not need dramatic answers. You do not need perfect circumstances. You only need peace. And peace is already here. The stars remain overhead. The night remains calm. God remains near. And His blessings continue flowing quietly through your life. Perhaps not always in the way you expect, but always in the way His wisdom provides. So let your thoughts become gentle. Let your breathing become slow. Let your heart become still. Like a home filled with warmth and light. May your soul rest peacefully tonight. Secure. Comforted. Loved. For a life rooted in God's care is a life surrounded by blessing. And His faithful care remains with you now. Through every hour of this peaceful night. The night is very still now. Very quiet. Perhaps sleep is already close. Perhaps your thoughts are drifting gently. Perhaps your heart is resting more deeply than it was before. As we come to this final psalm reflection, let us think about stories. Not stories from books. Not stories from distant places. But the stories that quietly shape every life. Psalm 78 speaks about remembering. Remembering God's faithfulness. Remembering His goodness. Remembering the ways He has guided His people through every generation. Generation after generation. people have looked up at the same stars, watched the same sunrise, felt the same hopes and fears. And through every generation, God remained faithful. Imagine an old grandfather sitting beside a fireplace. The room is warm. The evening is quiet. Children gather nearby to listen. And he begins telling stories. Stories about difficult seasons. Stories about unexpected blessings. Stories about moments when help arrived at exactly the right time. The children listen carefully, not because the stories are perfect, but because they are real. Every family has stories like that. Every life has stories like that. Moments when the road seemed uncertain. Moments when strength seemed small. Moments when hope seemed distant. And yet, somehow, the journey continued. God remained faithful. Imagine standing beside a river that has flowed for hundreds of years. Many people have stood beside it before you. Many people have watched its waters move. Many people have listened to its gentle song. Generations come and go, yet the river continues, steady, faithful, enduring. God's faithfulness is like that. Long before your story began, He was faithful. Long before your grandparents were born, He was faithful. Long before any of us walked this earth, He was faithful. And tonight, He remains faithful. There is comfort in belonging to something larger than ourselves. A story that began long before us. A story that will continue long after us. A story written by a faithful God. Imagine countless people throughout history whispering prayers beneath the night sky. Some prayed in times of peace. Some prayed in times of difficulty. Some prayed with confidence. Some prayed with trembling hearts. Yet all of them looked toward the same faithful God. The same God who hears your heart tonight. The same God who watches over you now. Perhaps there is something beautiful about knowing that you are not walking alone. Not only because God is with you, but because countless people before you have walked similar roads. They faced uncertainty. They experienced loss. They carried burdens. They asked questions. And through it all, God remained faithful. That faithfulness continues tonight. Imagine a candle being passed from one person to another. The flame remains the same, yet it continues spreading light. One generation receives it. Another generation shares it. The light continues. God's goodness has moved through history in much the same way. One life touched by grace, then another, then another. A chain of faithfulness stretching across centuries. And tonight, your story is part of that chain. Your life matters. Your journey matters. Your prayers matter. Even if they sometimes feel small. Even if they sometimes feel unnoticed. God sees them. God hears them. God remembers them. Just as He has remembered every generation before. The beautiful thing about God's story is that it is never driven by fear. It is driven by faithfulness, by grace, by love. Again and again, generation after generation. As the night grows deeper, let your heart rest in that faithfulness. The same God who guided people long ago guides you tonight. The same God who carried them carries you. The same God who loved them loves you. Nothing has changed. His faithfulness remains. His goodness remains. His love remains. Imagine the stars above. They shone over countless generations before us. And tonight they shine once more. Quietly. Faithfully. Beautifully. Just as God's love continues quietly. Faithfully. Beautifully. The story continues. The journey continues. The faithfulness continues. And because of that, you can rest. You can sleep peacefully. You can trust deeply. You can release tomorrow into God's hands. For the God who has guided generations is guiding you tonight. And his faithful care will remain with you through every hour of the night.